PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're into the Kardashians, the Kardashians, or the Kardashians, or you have the same feelings about both. I mean, after this episode, I know how you're going to feel about the Kardashians with a C, the Kardashians with a K. Though there's probably Kardashians that start their name with a C. I just don't know. You say, oh, those are my neighbors. The Kardashians with a C. That's what we call them. And we always tell them there should be a show catching up with the Kardashians with a C. But there isn't. Now, if you're confused, you see, I thought I tuned into a sleep podcast that was going to talk about nothing and then eventually talk about an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. You're in the right place because this is Welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. I make this show because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you could rest. And this podcast, you're right, doesn't make a lot of sense, goes off topic, and is here to keep you company so that you could fall asleep. It does take a few tries to get used to, so see how it goes. If you already load the podcast, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. You could check that out. But what'll happen is this is our greeting. Welcome. Go ahead, you're here. Then there'll be some support for the show. Then there'll be a long, meandering intro, which is a show within a show meant to ease you into bedtime, maybe put you to sleep. Then there'll be talking about TNG, and that'll be kind of like a bedtime story. So don't worry if you don't even know what TNG is, because the night is good. That could be your TNG. Instead of the good night, the night good. The night good, they said. It was a night named Good. And all he did was ramble. We call him Scoots, TNG. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And here's how we're able to come out free Choice Week is thanks to these sponsors. Our buddy Scoots here, and big news. We got something coming up this summer called Subscriber Summer. And if you subscribe to the show on Patreon, there's going to be extra exclusive content, $5, $10, and $20 patrons, in addition to what our most popular things are at the $10 and $20 level, all intro episodes, Fearless Flyer episodes, extra long compilations. But a lot of $5 patrons really like just listening to ad-free episodes and story-only episodes. But if you want to get in right now and you're hearing this message, we are running a sale on annual subscriptions on our Patreon, doubling the discount, 16% off annual subscription. So get in now and prepare for the sleeper summer, because this is a great deal. If you're already a patron, it's a great way to save money. We save money because there's a lot of credit cards that get declined in addition to credit card fees. But right now we're trying to get our Patreon back up to what it used to be during the pandemic. So be huge. So if you get a lot out of Sleep With Me, you want extra content, you want ad-free episodes, and you want to be a part of the subscriber summer, sign up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sleepwithmepodcast.com/PATRON. And you can see on that page all the perks. There's a video for the $5, the $10, and the $20 level. So you could see everything you get at that level. You get the Discord, we do office hours. But most of all, you're supporting the show that puts you to sleep on a regular basis, that you listen to all the time, and you're supporting the show for thousands of people that can't support the show. There's definitely I think there's like over 1,000 listeners for each patron. 60, I don't know. I'd have to do the math. But anyway, thank you so much. Couldn't do without you. And sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive, where customers who save by switching their home and car save nearly $800 on average. Quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $793 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, and I'm looking for supporters or feedback because the free show is supported by sponsors. That's what makes it possible. So either if you have a chance to support a sponsor, even take a free trial, please let them know about it and let me know about it on sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. But also if you want to give feedback, as I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do we like keep the show going and keep the show free for everybody. If you want to give feedback about sponsors or stuff like that, use the feedback form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. Be on the upper left-hand side of the page. Just use that link, fill out the survey, and there's feedback. You can give your feedback in there because I want to keep the show coming out free for everybody twice a week is my goal. But yeah, I could use your help. I could use your feedback. So do that, and I'll really appreciate it. If you send me feedback, I'll even try to thank you here on the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. Thanks, everybody. The next part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need right now. There's links to resources, including international resources you could use right now in our show notes. It's about being a part of community, being a part of positive change, not just saying Black Lives Matter, not just saying stop AAP, I hate, not just saying support Ukraine, but taking action and learning more. There's links to resources where you could do that, again, right now in our show notes. And one of the things we're doing is building hygiene kits and garnering support for people experiencing homelessness and particularly the Midnight Mission in Los Angeles. And if you want to learn more, use the links in our show notes. If you want to be a part of that, use the links in our show notes. And thank you so much. I couldn't do it without all you. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. Don't forget, get your sleep phones, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones to get those Sleep With Me branded sleep phones, and use Sleep With Me to save $5. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts you're thinking about, like thoughts on your mind. Maybe they're thoughts about the past, the present, the future, thinking stuff. Oh boy, there's one thing I got down. It's overthinking. It's regular for me. When they say overthinking, I say that's me on regular. So it's regular thinking, robust thinking. How come they don't call it that? That's what you say. How would you describe your thinking? I wouldn't describe it as robust. I would say it has a robust attitude, though. I would say it means robust, but not in the initial sense. Like it's not meant as a compliment or a display of my ego. But I think the definition of robust would define how my thinking is. But it maybe like, I know there's a kind of bean, a coffee bean, the Robusto bean. And I'd say my thoughts, I would affiliate my thoughts with those Robusto beans too. Maybe there isn't. But I would say to my thoughts, domo arigato, thoughts so robusto. Or I guess that doesn't rhyme, but that my thoughts are so, my thoughts are robusto. Oh boy, where am I? Thoughts? That's one of the things that could be keeping awake. It could be feelings, anything you're feeling emotionally coming up for you related to those thoughts or feelings that are there. or that are coming up. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something, getting over something, dealing with something. Whatever it is that's keeping you awake, I'm here to take your mind off of it and keep you company so that you could fall asleep. That's what my job's going to be here. And I'm here to be your friend in the deep, dark night. And the way I do it, well, the reason I do it, I said it a little bit earlier, but I'll go into more depth here. There's 2 reasons I make the show, or 3 reasons. One, I'm really good at never getting to the point. But I don't think I could do almost 1,200 episodes if that was the only reason. The main reasons are, why a lot of people are probably leaning in and nodding their heads, regular listeners, is because when I went through all that stuff, I don't know exactly why you can't sleep or what you're dealing with exactly. I mean, never been through what you're going through. But I can relate to how it feels. And if I can't, there's someone out there, I guarantee you, that can relate to how it feels. And this is, I know how that feels. I've been through something similar and it's not pleasant. Or maybe it's so pleasant that you can't sleep. I mean, maybe you're going through something so exciting, you just can't sleep. I hear from listeners that are dealing with that. I've never heard from a listener that's on so exciting. I'm trying to sleep on I'm trying to do this new thing, sleeping on a Ferris wheel. And so I tried your podcast, works great. I haven't got that, or a roller coaster. I don't think any professional on the planet would recommend sleeping on a roller coaster, but I could be wrong. But, what was I saying? There's a lot of people listening that know how it feels or have a general idea. That's why I call it the deep, dark night. It's a deep, dark place we can be in. And sometimes it feels very lonely to me and from other listeners I've heard from. So I'm trying to penetrate that loneliness and say, hey, I'm here to keep, it's a different relationship, digital, downloadable, but I'm here to keep you company. But I'm also here on behalf of all the other people listening. There's people that have been listening to this show since I started making it in whatever year that was, 2013. So I'm so glad you're here. And I want to help. That's the other side of it is you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you can get some rest, the rest you need, so that your life can be more manageable tomorrow. And a bedtime you don't have to dread. Bedtime you can feel neutral about or look forward to or forget about and say, okay, well, it's time to go to bed. I'm going to do my bedtime stuff, listen to my bedtime guy, my boyfriend, and fall asleep. So that's why I make the show. Is because if you're out there getting the rest you need, your life's more manageable. You could be flourishing down the road as you get more and more sleep. And that means our world's a better place to be in because your world's a better place to be in. So that's important. It really is. And even if you never listen to anything else about this podcast again, it doesn't change that fact. In fact, I have a website, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. Just in case this show doesn't suit your needs or isn't your style, that has other sleep podcasts and stuff on there. So that's why I make the show. What else do you know? Oh, what I'll do is here, I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, which means my voice is not traditionally soothing. I'm going to go on superfluous. I have pointless meanders and superfluous tangents. You've already seen a couple of those. It means I get mixed up. I go off topic, start talking about something else, switch back, ramble on and on and on. And all to keep you company and help you fall asleep. So that's, what else do you need to know? The structure of the show, why I make the show. We covered that. Oh, first thing to know, if you're skeptical or doubtful about this podcast, or you say this may be too robust in its not only robust in your thinking, you're robust in your strangeness, I would say thank you. And I'd say that's a totally normal way to approach a show. If you have a robust amount of skepticism, why wouldn't you, right? If you're like me and the hundreds of thousands of other people that listen to the show on a regular basis, you say, I tried so many different things to help me fall asleep. So many different things people told me, and none of it worked consistently. And I'm tired of trying all this different stuff, spent all this money. Why would a free podcast with a weird dude help me sleep? And I'd say, you're exactly right. If you're skeptical or doubtful, I mean, it makes sense to me. And none of my rambling thus far would have cleared it up. But I would say that the majority of listener experience is that it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to this podcast. And at some point, if the show works for you, you just realize, oh, it never goes anywhere. It never makes any sense. It kind of it does, but it doesn't. It's a rare thing. It's like a train on a track or something that's going around in a circle. But at some point you forget about that too. And then you say, and then you say like Neo, there is no train. And then you say, wait a second, what? I thought you were making a metaphor about a sleep podcast. Now you're talking about the movie The Matrix? And I'd say, Sleep With Me podcast, there is no metaphor. These are the metaphors you've been looking for. They're not, they don't, anyway. So if you're skeptical or doubtful, give it a few tries and just see how it goes. You got nothing to lose, and I really hope it works for you. But if you already loathe me in the podcast and you just don't like it, that's normal too. You don't have to. It doesn't change the fact you deserve a good night's sleep. You do not need to put me on blast because someone else already probably has today. But you could go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you and test out another sleep podcast. So that's what else you need to know? Structure show. Oh, no, there are a couple other things. This is a podcast you don't really listen to. That's one of the things that takes some getting used to. It's a podcast you just barely listen to, like TV on in the other room, like a phone call from a friend that says, just talk to me. I can't listen to you. I just want somebody to talk to me, but I don't really want to pay attention. Keep me company with your voice. That's what this podcast does. Or it could be background noise, or you could turn it down to a mumble. But it's a podcast you just kind of barely listen to, but you could listen. And if you can't sleep, there's a percentage of listeners that can't sleep. So you're not alone there either. I'm here to the very end to keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. And in the end, that's what I believe works about the show is you could listen to it, but you don't need to. There's no pressure to listen, no pressure to fall asleep. Because believe it or not, this podcast does not put you to sleep. It keeps you company while you fall asleep. It distracts you. And you say, oh, okay, I forgot what was keeping me awake. And then I forgot to listen to your podcast. And then I woke up the next day. I'm here to be your friend in the deep, dark night. Your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore cuz, your bore bestie, your bore burr, your neighbor, your bore friend, or whatever else, your bore bruh, your bore bud. Your friend in the deep, dark night, keep you company while you drift off. Another thing that can throw listeners off is the structure of the show, which is also understandable. So I'll tell you about the structure of the show right now. It's very intentional, and you could adjust how you listen to the podcast. So the show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And I tell you a little bit about the podcast as like a basic teaser intro. No teasing, though. And you say, so that you feel seen and welcomed, and you get a kind of idea of the tone of the podcast. You say, I might be able to listen to that. Let me see. Then there's support for the show from sponsors. And that's how we're able to do the show for free is the people that pay for the podcast and the sponsors, the people that support them. That's what keeps podcasts coming out twice a week. Then after that is support for listeners and communities around the show. And then after that is the intro to the podcast, which is a show within a show. I just got an email today about this because someone used to think that the sponsors and the intro were the same thing and that the intro was some sort of self-congratulations or promotional thing. And now they say the intro, they didn't realize that I was serious when I said it's a show within a show. And then they say, now the intro is my favorite part. And one of the reasons people like the intro, but there's 2% of people that skip the intro. And there's about 2,000 people on Patreon that listen to story-only episodes. But there's also about 3,000 people Oh no, that's the downloads. But there's like people that like intros more than stories. So everybody listens differently. But at least at first, let me explain to you. And then you can adjust as you become a regular listener. The intro goes on and on and on for 10 to 20 minutes so that you can be eased into bedtime. So you can have a transition period from whatever you were doing before bed until you fall asleep. And so for some listeners, they're getting ready for bed. For a lot of listeners, they're doing some sort of other wind down activity, some chillaxing activity. And then for some listeners, they're in bed getting comfortable. And then for a percentage of listeners, they're sleeping already, and we're happy for them. But the intro is meant to have like a twilight period. It's not, it could put you to sleep, but it doesn't have to because there's no pressure to fall asleep. I'm meant to ease you into bedtime. So that's the intro. Then again, there's support between the intro and the story so the show can be free. And then there's a bedtime story. Tonight will be based on an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. But believe me when I say this, you don't have to have seen the episode or know anything about it to have it put you to sleep. It's just meant to kind of keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. So that's the intro. Then, what else do you need to know? The intro. Oh, no. Oh, then the bedtime story. Then thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. That's what I meant. And I told you why I make the show. I'm really glad you're here. Just give it a few tries, see how it goes. But I really hope I can help you fall asleep. I appreciate you coming by. I yearn and I strive. I work really hard on this show. So do a bunch of other people because we want to help and because it's our pleasure it's fun to do this and to keep you company and try to make something that's a bit different, but maybe helps keep you company and put you to sleep. So thanks again for coming by. And here's how I'm able to do it for you for free twice a week. Everybody, we're here with the conclusion or part 2 of Chain of Command, Next Generation episode with Lieutenant Ronnie Cox, Lieutenant Bogomil. Last time, there's the coverage up first. Picard and, who's the guy's name? Jellicoe, Edward Jellicoe. Sounds like something you used to make I don't know, but they recap what happened last time. Basically, Picard went on a secret mission into the Cardassians, and they said, hey, why don't you stay with us for a while as our guest? Hinty, 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 poo. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Bogomil from Beverly Hills Cop, I realize this is a stretch, but this is just what happened, became under cover of a name, Edward Jellicoe. What happened was he was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel under the name Edward Jellicoe on the advice of Axel Foley. And somehow, I don't know, I think this may have been the plot for the new, what was that movie called? Galaxy Quest 2, Bogomil's Adventure. Oh, there's fan fiction I never wrote, but I imagined. Oh, boy. That was a brief stage in my adolescence where I wrote fan fiction about Lieutenant Bogomil. But this one starts, it's, then you have to make it into a TNG episode. Also, yeah, so it starts with Captain Picard. I always think Lieutenant Bogomil, if you're at the Captain... I don't know, deputy? Okay, I don't know. But so this starts with Picard answering questions again. He's in a black knit, 2 different versions of knit sweater, Cardassian sweater, like that they've given him. And they ask his place of birth, Le Bar, France, his parents, Yvette, and imagine if it was Gaston was his father. Because was this before? His mother's name is Yvette Gassard. And then they say, they don't even ask him his father's name. So it could be. I know his father was in those episodes, though. Celtris, what are you doing here? I was checking out Celtris 3. What was your mission? Yeah, you had some sort of metagenics going on, and we had to shut it down. Who else was involved? Chief Medical Officer Beverly Crusher and Lieutenant Worf. What's going on in Minos Corva? Picard does not know. the dude is like, so Kardashians are tall. So he really has to lean in. And he says, give him 0.13. And this reminded me of, but this obviously has a lot of callbacks to a lot of different stuff, but particularly call forwards if you're just thinking about fiction that could be covered on a sleep podcast Andor, and what do you call it? The Matrix. Later, there's like a Matrix scene similar to the Matrix, I guess. Okay, so now we have Captain's log, Jellicoe's log, negotiations with Cardassians not making progress, both ships we see. May have to have a dance off. Golamek, but Bogomil says, we want peace. And then this is a big reveal at the top of the episode. Well, how come people snuck into Cardassian space and played hide and seek there? Don't know what you're talking about. Let me explain. A lot of close-ups. He stands and says, Jean-Luc Picard, Lieutenant Worf, and Beverly Crusher. By the way, it's Dr. Beverly Crusher. Were caught playing hide and seek on Sultrus 3 without our permission. But they tell like something, so they use a lot of disinformation, these Cardassians. So they give a piece of different, they say, by the way, they broke 3 vases. And Riker says, what? They say, yeah, we're keeping him because they broke 3 vases, priceless heirlooms, by the way. And they say, holy cow, this is not going to go good. You got the 3 Cardassians, and they say, yeah, this is not, like, can't tell you anymore. He may have to work off, we haven't decided if he's going to have to put the vases back together. And then Riker says, yo, Bogomil, is this true? Yeah, they were sent there to practice hide and seek. In case you ever have a hide and seek game with the Cardassians, they had some sort of secret thing. So we're supposed to meet up with Picard in 8 hours. Riker, why don't you take a shuttle there to rendezvous? But we'll remain here. We got to play out the end game. Or maybe he said, I got to watch the end of Endgame. And I said, well, that's like a 3-hour movie, dude. Then we have Picard. He comes in. He's wearing a nice eye mask, actually a different color, but similar to the one I have that I recommend, the sleep something. It's green, mine. Picard's is brown. And the head of Cardassian interviews says, advises, says, hey, can we sit down and talk, the 2 of us? At first pretends he's reasonable. It turns out this dude is, vases is only the start of his problems. He's his own broken vase, this Cardassian, metaphorically. So, doesn't take part, but he starts off with this fake thing. Hey, I heard you love archaeology. I love archaeology. Have a seat. Let's talk. And Picard goes, yeah, I heard there's magnificent ones, early civilization stuff. And the guy says, yeah, used to be. Once upon a time, 200 years ago, it was great. Full of Jevonite, rare stone, anything like vibranium? And they say, no. Anything like the stuff they had on, they used against, like that thing Arya had? No. Everybody took them. Probably used them as props in these movies you're referring to. Guard said it's not movies, those were streaming shows. Well, one's a movie, but Bogomil's watching one of, and the guy says, actually, I was trying to change tone in our discussion to let you know the consequences you breaking those vases, which may or may not have contained Jevonite. He goes, well, how would you feel about a docent-led tour? Picard goes, I prefer to go home. And he goes, but you broke 3 vases in your hide-and-seek games. You were playing hide-and-seek without our permission. I don't know how they do it in earthly worlds, but if you sneak into someone's house and play hide-and-seek without their permission and break vases, I don't know what the consequences would be. But Picard's like, I don't remember breaking any vases. And he goes, I'll tell you what, let's change it up. He goes, tell me everything about Minos Corva. And then we'll go from there. And Picard's like, is Minos Corva a singer or a vase maker? And he goes, come on, man. I just want the information about Minos Corva, all of it. Picard goes, well, like, what kind of information? Like I don't know. And the guy goes, it's not true. You do know. And he goes, maybe you know more than I know. Then the guy uses a doorbell to call in two other people. And they bring in Picard. And this actually has happened to me. They bring in glue and dust at first. And then the guy takes out like something made of Jevonite and goes through the dirt. And he says, you're going to have to put take this. This is one of the vases you broke. Picard goes, this is no vase. And he goes, I want you to put this vase back together. Or you could tell me about Minos Corva. Which one? And they also, this was strange, but not, he says, by the way, that's a Cardassian sweater. I'd like to have it back. And Picard goes, I don't remember borrowing it. You just gave it to me. And he goes, from now on, I'm going to call you human, not Picard. And until these vases are put together, or I know everything about Minos Corva, or some other thing when we're, you won't wear any sweaters, and because we got a lot of work to do. And Picard can see through all of it. You could, like, there's a lot of great close-ups on his face where he's, like, not happy. We do see Picard's, like, he's in very, very, he's been really, like, doing Pilates or something. And we go back to the two ships, face-to-face, couple of silver spoons almost. Worf and Crusher are back. Worf's very stoic. Crusher says, yeah, we were playing hide and seek, then Picard got caught. And we came back with the Ferengi. So Ferengi didn't double cross him. I'm surprised about that. The whole thing was a setup. And Riker and Bogomil talk. He says, let's check Beverly's tricorder, try to remap stuff, GPS type stuff, Celtris 3. And Riker says, let's get a rescue thing going. And the guy goes, dude, I'm in charge here. He goes, can't you trust me that I'm your leader? It's not time for a rescue mission. And Riker's not happy about it. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe it's just my jealousy of Riker that sometimes guides this stuff, or maybe it's just my love of Lieutenant Bogomil. Or how it's projecting on this episode. So it's interesting, when you make stuff and you like watch stuff a few times and you say, from my impressions, Bogomil's doing the best job he can. He's no Picard. I mean, how are you ever going to follow up Jean-Luc? But no one really gives him the benefit of the doubt, and they kind of blame his brusque manner. But then it's the next day on Cardassia. And the main dude, Gull something, he brings in his thermos, pours himself a thermos. He drinks out of a cone, a cup that is shaped like a cone. It has its own cone holder. Looks like it's a tin cone. This man drinks out of a tin cone. Could also wear it as a hat. So Picard goes like, are you drinking out of a tin cone? He goes, actually, it's not tin, but whatever. He goes, do you ever wear that as a hat, or are you thirsty? He goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. And the guy goes, yeah, I would imagine you would like to wear this as a hat and drink out of it, but this is my tin cup. Picard goes, it's a cone, a tin cone that you're using as a cup. Then things get weird, but it is harking back to other historical things. but this is where the real depth of the episode is. But he says, look at these lights. Tell me if there's how many lights there are. Picard goes, there's 4 lights there, man. And the dude goes, there's not. There's 5. And Picard goes, are we quibbling about how many lights there are? And he goes, yeah, we're going to quibble. He goes, quibble's my hobby, Jean-Luc, or whatever, human. He doesn't say Jean-Luc. I was just saying that, but. He says, until we get to this bottom of these vases, and he goes, have you ever listened to Cardassian vase music? They say humans don't like it. It's just people he goes, I heard you have something called Tibetan bowls. Not like that. He goes, but it's like when people put their finger on a wine glass, but not as pleasant. So why don't you listen to that for a while? Or you could fix the vase, or you could tell me about Minas Corva. Or you could tell me there's 5 lights when there's only 4. Which would you prefer? And Picard goes, none. And he goes, okay, I just want to know that there's 5 lights. I don't care about the other stuff, really. Picard goes, there's 4 lights, dude. And, unless you're talking about the bulbs or something. And the guy goes, can't you just say there's 5 lights? Picard goes, no, bye. Then we go back to the Enterprise. There's a conference with the Cardassians. They have a recording of Picard being interviewed by that guy. And Ronnie Cox, Bogomil says, I don't even know. He goes, it wasn't my orders. And they talk about Saldanis. And they say the Saldanis rules, you can't make someone put a vase back together if they're willing to apologize and make it right moving forward. And they say that's only if we've agreed to a dance-off, which we have not, or a hide-and-seek competition, which we have not. And he says, by the way, if you pull out of this sector, maybe we could work something out. And Picard could come back here and we could forget about the whole thing. You just got to leave this uninspected area. And he says, I'll call my boss. And they go, okay, you got 7 hours. And then Troy says, what are you going to do? He goes, call my boss, Admiral Nechayev, and we'll have to get to work. And they go, what about, all Riker cares about is Picard, which does not ring true to me. Okay, I guess I got to pause it because he does. Picard's there to represent the whole Enterprise. But really, I would say to him, just like Bogomil, I think Bogomil could be a bit less brusque. Or clearly, he's communicating the components about the mission, but he doesn't have he's not inspiring staff unity, though he does spur some actions. But I think Riker does have to, maybe he is trying to find the middle ground, but he does, because he does say, I'm not suggesting you trade an entire star system for Picard, but you got to tell him he was on, that he had permission from your boss. And that we're about to have a dance-off. And then they go back and forth. And Bogomil says, you don't understand, I'm here debating with this guy. And they go back and forth. Then Troy tries to diffuse it, but it's undiffusible. He goes, are you questioning my judgment? And Riker says, yeah, I am. I have to point out any mistakes I've been making. And he basically gets fired. He goes, you're relieved. So I guess then we see Data in the maroon, maybe? I don't know. So maybe Data becomes his number one, Bogomil's number one. He goes, Taggart wasn't, if Bogomil had a number one, it'd be Axel Foley. Taggart's like his number 2. And who's the other guy? It's like a 2-syllable thing. Anyway, they have another meeting. Data, Geordi, Bogomil. They say, okay, they tried to get us to get Picard because that whole thing was with Theta Band, Data says. And says that whole thing was with Theta Band. And why would they get him over there to play hide and seek with Theta Bands? They go, maybe he's thinking about something in the future. The Enterprise, then the Enterprise would stay here. And maybe they assumed Picard would know more about Minos Corva. And Data says, okay, if that's correct, then they must be planning something. And then Bogomil says, okay, let's figure this out here. Goes, Geordi, look for anything on their ship, discrete scan, figure out where they've been, where they came from. Check the dirt. Then we go to back to the Cardassia, where they're putting water in for the Cardassian's daughter's pet, which was let me look it up. I can't remember what the pet was called. A wombat. As a fish would say, have to have that. So it looks like the wombat's having water. I don't know if it's a huge, earthly wombat, and it has its own little terrarium. Very cute. She heads off with the wombat. Have to have that. Picard's sleeping. He's wearing like a light, like a very small robe in maroon. And the guy, he says, your daughter's great, man. Great kid. And then whoever the Cardassian is, Gaul, bad attitude, I'd say. He talks about how he's instruction in his daughter to kind of separate 100, like he's taught his daughter to do a lot of all or nothing thinking. And Picard goes, well, why would you teach your daughter? That's like, unfortunately, something we need to grow out of, all or nothing thinking and good or bad, friend, enemy, all that things. He goes, well, you're not a friend of the Cardassians, so it's a fact. And Picard says, when children learn to devalue others, they can devalue anyone, including their parents. And the Cardassian says, like he said, I think people have said this to me on the internet. What a blind, narrow view you have. That's what he says. He stands, says some other stuff. I probably hear some of the stuff. Oh, what an arrogant man you are, trying to tell me to think in the gray areas. And Picard goes, you were once a peaceful people with a rich spiritual life. And the dude says, what did peace and spirituality get us, man? Nothing. And Picard goes, it doesn't seem like it's going so well now that you're not living by with any spiritual tools, with only all or nothing tools. And the dude goes, we've created structure for people, and mandates, and that's what we've done. What have you done, Jean-Luc? He doesn't say that again, but goes, now my daughter has a world of structure and mandates. Picard goes, her belly may be full, but her spirit is empty. And Gaul bad attitude doesn't like that. And Picard goes, you're lucky Axel Foley's not here because your ship would be... And then he goes, let's try this lights thing again. How many lights you see? Picard goes, on or off, I see 4 lights, dude. Are we really going to keep at this? Oh, no, he says, what lights? Total, even better burn. The guy turns the lights on in his face. And the guy is so stern. He sits down with a big frowny frown. And he says, I believe in all or nothing thinking. And then he puts on the bowl music. We go back. Geordi, Data, and Bogomil are going over the hull of the other ship. Geordi says, we got something. Molecular dispersion field. Well, where's that? Closest one's McAllister C5 Nebula, 7 light years from here. It goes, could the ships hide there? Yeah, Geordi says, but not long. Because there's particle flux. 72 hours is the longest. He goes, what's the nearest Federation system? And that's when he says Minos Corva, 11 light years from the nebula. Cardassians had already tried to annex it once. Goes, Data, get me to Minos Corva in an hour. Got it, sir. So they head off at warp 8.5, which is fast, because they go in fast mode. Picard is sleeping. He's singing a French song, Sur le pont d'Avignon, l'on est danse, l'on est danse. The guy wakes him up. Picard goes, I'm not sleeping, I'm singing to myself. And he goes, what's that song? Picard goes, when I was at home, as a lad, Sunday dinner. He goes, we'd sing after Sunday dinner. And the guy goes, oh, that's beautiful, like a postcard, the Picard family. Singing away. And he goes, that's what's keeping you from telling me memories of home and hearth and happier times? Because you're really strong-willed. Then he plays with him. This was from GOT, this move. He goes, why don't you leave? It's played out in a different way, but he goes, yeah, go back to your ship. Forget about this whole thing. Picard goes, really? Okay. Well, I'll give it a shot at least. And he goes, no, not really. He goes, I'm going to talk to Dr. Crusher. And Picard goes, no, you're not talking to Dr. Crusher. Just talk to me. He goes, oh, you're going to stay with me then? Picard goes, darn tootin'. But it's more of a slow scene because right now Picard's slowly walking out. And he says, yeah, we'll talk to the human female. See if she could put together any of these broken vases. And Picard stops. Dr. Beverly Crusher turns around. This guy has no idea what he's dealing with. Someone full of empathy, compassion, and self-esteem, but also like incredibly brilliant. The guy goes, yeah, well, why don't we work together? Picard goes, what about Worf? Where's he at? He goes, well, he went to the, it's all disinformation. He keeps giving him disinformation right up to the very end to try to make Picard lose hope. But Picard's hope is somewhere else. And Picard goes, she wouldn't know anything about Minos Corva anyway. If I don't know anything about it, she's not going to know anything about it if it's some official thing. And this dude says, okay, well, your choice. You're choosing to stay with me. The zoom on Picard, his face is H-A-R-D hard. This guy says, I'm so pleased. And I say, you won't be for long, dude. What lights, I say. Okay, then we go back to another meeting. Geordi, Troy, Crusher, Data, Worf. They talk about the nebula. And Bogomil's got a plan, fully level plan. And he goes, they're in there hiding. And they say, you're gambling with... and he goes, Bogomil says, listen, I've got a plan. I got approved by my superiors. And if we could pull the plan off, it'll work. No one trusts him. I guess it makes sense because he's not Picard. He goes, 500, we're going to put 500 things on their ships which slow them down. Magnets with ribbons on them, long ribbons. And we'll need a shuttle because we're going to go into the nebula where they can't see us. And we're going to basically toilet paper their ships, but magnetically. And they won't be able to move at any high rate. But everybody's displeased with this poor guy. But he's actually come up with a brilliant plan. Then we go back, and the dude's having some sort of baked eggs, or hard-boiled eggs. And there's actually food. There's a plate of other food, too, for Jean-Luc. He goes, hey, have an egg. The guy thinks it's so witty. He goes, it's a deviled egg. And Picard, I guess he didn't know that there's the deviled eggs on Earth. So he thought like it was like he said it like, I mean, I guess if you told some little kid, like, this is the devil's egg, like, maybe you say, is it deviled egg or a devil's egg? Is there a difference? This one has horns. But Picard goes, dude, we have deviled eggs on Earth, so I love them. So he starts eating them. And the guy goes, huh, other planets, when we say that, they think the idea of a devil's egg, they won't eat it. Then there's some golden raisins, looks like some kale. The good Kardashian goes, yeah, I remember when I was 6 or whatever, 5, 4, I don't know. It was like I lived in a Dickensian novel. And we had heard about these deviled eggs at a buffet party. We were Dickensian kids running around like wild gettles. He goes, one time there was deviled eggs in front of a window on a platter. I grabbed the platter, through the window, ate one of the eggs, and I figured I'd take the rest back to my other companions or myself and hide them and eat them. And he goes, but like a Dickensian novel, somebody else grabbed it from me. And, they took my eggs. And Picard goes, that must be so rewarding, paying me back for the misery those kids inflicted on you. I can see right through you. The dude does not realize it. Picard goes, what do you mean? Picard goes, can't you see how your behavior is self-defeating? And I could see right through you. And the guy goes, what is this, analysis? And Picard goes, whenever I look at you now, I'm going to see a little boy who lost his deviled eggs, not a powerful Cardassian warrior. A 6-year-old boy, powerless to hold his eggs. And the guy turns on the lights. And Picard goes, I find you pitiable. I feel bad for you now. He goes, stop it. And Picard goes, he says Picard. So Picard goes, you called me Picard. You're so irritated. And he goes, what's the plan on Minos Corva? Picard goes, 4 lights. And the guy goes, there's 5 lights. And Picard says, you're a 6-year-old who lost his deviled eggs, weak and helpless. Goes, you can't, he goes, you're not going to. The guy goes, how many lights are there? And then Picard starts singing from his dinner. Even though he's playing that Cardassian music. Okay, then we're doing the shuttle prep. Bogomil and Geordi, they're talking. Everything's almost ready. And we're going to transport him on there or something. And Bogomil sits down in the pilot's seat. He goes, oh boy, it's been a while since I flew one of these bad boys. He goes, what about you, Geordi? Fly any of these things? And Geordi goes, yeah, back. And I was a shuttle pilot on the Jovian run, Jupiter to Saturn and back, once a day, every day. Bogomil says, I did that for a while too. And they talk about old Titan's turn. So Bogomil shows that he had a little flash in him at one point, some sort of risky maneuver, kind of like Top Gun, like flying by the thing. But Geordi goes, you're going to need someone that could do that, like in their sleep. The best pilot on the ship, probably. And goes, is that you, Geordi? And Geordi goes, no, because there's not going to be any sensors. Pilot to pull that off, there's only one of them, Riker, Commander Riker. He's the best there is, or Han Solo. Bogomil goes, huh. I've dealt with Axel Foley before. It's surprising that I can't get a working relationship with Riker. But at this point, there's nothing you can do right. Riker's reading a book. It looks like an encyclopedia. He's in a robe. No, he's in pajamas, silk pajamas. He goes, what up? You play music? Traditional, contemporary, classical? Riker says, jazz, man. Okay, goes, jazz makes me nuts. He goes, what do you need? You're beating around the bush? And he goes, yeah, we got some plans. Riker goes, yeah, I'm on the rumor mill, man. I know about your plans. You need a pilot, eh? Need the best pilot. That's me. I listen to jazz while I fly by. I fly like I play my jazz. He goes, well, I don't like you, Riker. You're insubordinate, arrogant, and willful. And I don't even think you're a good first officer. So this crosses a line. But he goes, you're the best pilot on the ship. And Riker goes, well, I don't like you either. You're closed-minded, arrogant. You have to control everything and everyone. And you don't create you don't inspire people. They don't want to go out of the way for it. Everybody's so stressed, man. You've taken all the joy out of hide and seek. I don't think you're a good captain. And he kind of trembles a little bit. But Bogomil, he says, I won't order you to fly this mission. And Riker says, why don't you ask me? He smiles. He goes, will you pilot the shuttle, Commander? Yes. And then Bogomil turns away and Riker says, you're welcome. It's a little passive aggressive, but he smiles because now he's got the best of him. Okay, then we go to the shuttle again. It's Geordi and Riker. Secondary systems, they're flying through the cloud. They lose everything. Only have the proximity detector. And we're going to have to get really close. And Riker's having fun. They even hit a couple bumps. But that's Riker's style, man. He's like playing jazz. He flies like he does play jazz. Loose, but with structure. I don't know how he plays jazz, but then the Enterprise is waiting. They're waiting for the shuttle. The shuttle comes out, and they say, okay, we got it. Toilet paper applied. They don't know it, though. And he goes, okay, let's red alert. And they go, call the Reklar. And they say, what are you doing what are you doing? This is Cardassian turf, man. And he goes, I'm not here to argue with you, Golomek, but you're in a bad position. And he goes, you can't intimidate us. And he goes, why don't you try to see how fast you could go? Why don't you try to see if you can go as fast as us? And then they try to start their car and the toilet paper. I think they had the banana in the tailpipe, too. I just realized it. And so that's what it was. So the toilet paper was just like, I didn't even realize how brilliant. So they can't drive. And he goes, yeah, I learned that from Axel Foley. You're not going anywhere. But, he says, okay, pull out of this territory and put Jean-Luc Picard stat, man. And immediately, and he totally, like they say, okay. Then we go back to Picard's alone. He's kind of really tired because they have so there's like this pile of what seems like broken pottery pieces and glue. Picard goes up to it and starts just smushing all the broken pottery pieces. And then the Cardassian comes in. There's also another larger bowl of, but he goes, that's not the real vase. And Picard goes, it felt good. And the guy totally lies to Picard. He goes, well, you lost the hide and seek games. He goes, and he goes, by the way, that was a gamble of all the Minoscorva vinyl and the Enterprise. So the Enterprise is now a Cardassian ship that we won in the game of hide and seek. It's too bad you didn't just work with us. Picard goes, I want to see a neutral representative. No chance, dude. You're here with us. We also, we told them you quit the Enterprise and you don't want to talk to them. And Picard's like, he's just breathing. And the guy goes, well, I could work something out though, really. He goes, we could keep going back and forth on this lights thing, and you could try to keep trying to put together vases, or we could be friends. Could get you an apartment. You could probably study philosophy and history. We could have debates. He goes, you have a keen mind. Could have a life of ease, reflection, and intellectual challenge. He goes, or every day with me, talking, putting vases together. And he goes, well, what do I have to do? And the guy goes, nothing really. He goes, just tell me how many lights you see. And Picard goes, you gotta be kidding me, man. And there's a long scene. We zoom from the behind the lights to Picard's face as he's counting them. And he kind of looks like he's in disbelief. And the guy goes, how many lights? And Picard goes, this is it. Make your choice. Because a couple people come in the room. Goes, how many? And then the other three Cardassians are like, yo, he's supposed to go back to his ship now. Why is he still in his robe? And the guy, this reminded me of Matrix, where they go, what's been going on back here? We got stuff to deal with. And they go, we got to take him back to his ship, the Enterprise. They won in a game of, we never played hide and seek with them because they toilet papered our ships and did a banana in the tailpipe. So we're taking you back to your ship. And then Picard goes, there's 4 lights. He yells it at the guy. Game Picard. And then Picard walks off under his own power in his robe. Robe barely covers his behind. Not an important note, but probably was on set. And then we go back. We see the Cairo and Enterprise side by side. Picard comes on the bridge. They say, Captain on the bridge. They shake hands. Welcome home, Jean-Luc. He goes, thanks, just like you left it. Maybe a little better. That burn, that wasn't nice. So and they transfer all their codes back. Jellicoe Alpha 3-1. Transfer, he goes, Enterprise now under command of Jean-Luc Picard. I relieve you, sir. I stand relieved. And Jellicoe goes off, been an honor serving with you, and just walks off. Just because he's awkward, man. Picard turns the bridge over to number 1. He goes to talk to Troy. They go into his office. His book's back. I'm assuming his fish tank's back. And no pictures from Jellicoe's kids. And Picard goes, man, I don't even know where to start. He goes, Troy says, well, I read your report. And he goes, well, there's some stuff not in the report. The guy kept trying to get me to say there was 5 lights when there was 4. And using that as a tactic to wear me down. And he even gave me a choice, right? Say there's 5 lights and I could have comfort or not. And he goes, I did say there's 4 lights, and I think factually there were only 4 lights, but at that point, he's using his hands like he's making his body small. Great acting. Carter goes, I would have done anything, but the worst part was I saw 5 lights. Or I believed that I could see 5 lights. And the episode comes to a close on that note. So very powerful 2-parter. Let's look up a couple facts on the fly here. Picard in Ready Room. I think we've looked up, but let's see. Oh, it's a Globe Illustrated Shakespeare, the complete works. This is from Memory Alpha. So that makes sense. It was like an encyclopedia. It's an annotated, hardbound book. All works by William Shakespeare. Card kept it under a glass cover. Q went through it. And after retirement, is kept in his archives. It was the 1986 Greenwich House edition with authentic leather binding, written and annotated by Howard Staunton. It was attractively bound, but as far as scholarship, it was looked upon as outdated. It was on display until TNG Coming of Age, and then it was replaced by Volume 1 and later Volume 2 of the annotated Shakespeare. After that, it appears in his quarters in a few Season 2 episodes, seen in the movies. And let's see if there's anything else. No, that's it. So that's a little bit about, let's see if we get Ronnie Cox. Ronnie Cox. He's an American actor, singer and songwriter. Wow. And this one has a bunch of other movies that were before my time. He was in the TV show for Family Ties. He's been in some sci-fi movies. He was a president in 1990's Captain America. Vice president in several episodes of Stargate SG-1, Angelico, and he's in an episode of Star Trek Prodigy. And he's performed at festivals, music festivals since for a long time. It says music career start after having a successful movie career. He was even inducted in the New Mexico Hall of Fame. And trying to think, Live at the Kitchen Sink. He won New Mexico Music Awards with Norman Petty's Producer Award. Interesting. And anything else? Let's see if there's anything else. Vision Quest. Oh, no, that's a different. I thought that was whatever the... No. Oh, he was on Cop Rock, which was a police procedural musical series that came out. I thought Cop Rock was just like a dream I had. It's a police procedural musical television series, premiered in 1990, broadcast 11 episodes. It was both critically and commercially not well reviewed. It looks like Randy Newman did the opening song. Premise. Let's read about this. It was an ensemble show mixing musical and choreography through storylines to introduce new characters. It, I guess, tonally it sounds very hard to take a show like those procedural shows and then they don't see anything about comedy in here. I don't know. I wonder where you could watch this. This could be something worth looking into. Let's see. The development started in the 80s with Stephen Bochco, as a proposal to convert the TV show Hill Street Blues into a musical, which was declined, and then said, what about making a Broadway show into a procedural? And they said, this is a bold and adventurous idea. Oh, Bob Iger was one of the only people willing to give them a chance. And they said it was impossible. These are the kind of things that are cool to go after, though, I think. When somebody says it's impossible, to not try is, I think it's cool that they tried. I kind of remember this, but I honestly thought it was a dream. See, it only has 17 audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, or maybe that's the critical reviews. Its ambition to innovate is admirable, but Yeah, it didn't seem to do well. I mean, tough to do. Home media. It was on DVD. I don't know if it's on streaming. We'll have to look into it. But yeah, that's a little post TNG talk that took us someplace interesting. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody that became a patron recently. I want to thank Ruth, Donnie, and Queso. Thanks, and good night. Sarah and Bria and Tom. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Jonathan, Mariana, and Helen. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Nemesis, Katie, and Sarah. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Katie, Sky, and Marie. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Karen, Christina. Thank you, thanks, and good night. And Larry and Isaiah. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Thanks for everybody who supports the show directly on Patreon or other places, or supports the sponsors. And thanks everybody who supports the show with their kind words or spreads the word about the podcast and helps it grow. Really, really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without all of you. Thank you so much. And we've been able to grow the archives because of Talk You In sponsors or words from Scoots. Thanks and good night, everybody.